Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative. For those of you in the States, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend and enjoyed your festivities, whatever those were that you got up to. Okay, what are we going to be working on today? I have decided, well, I've been playing a little bit, and some of my playing has been going well, and some not so well. What we're going to do today are two pieces we're going to be working on. Is one, this snowflake tealight, and yes, you'll notice that the inside of it is incredibly pink. That's because I obviously used something in it a long time ago that stained my mold, which is fine because usually what I found is if you use something, it was probably an alcohol ink, or it could have been a ceramic resin colorant that I used that just soaked it. I have found, and I've maybe not always going to be the case, but I found that because it's soaked into the silicone, that normally it isn't an issue when I then go and use, like, put resin in it the next time. It's usually soaked in so much that it doesn't come off the silicone itself. So we're not going to concern ourselves with that. And if this happens to be one of those moments when I'm wrong, hey, totally cool. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to do this plate. Now this plate I have done as a ceramic resin piece. I decided last week to do this piece as a resin piece because, well, why not? And I got to playing around a little bit. Put that off to the side and I'll show you what that is in a moment. So I made these two, and this one I had used glass pieces, like the crushed glass in it. Now, as you can see, I mean, it looks okay. It's not a bad looking plate, but the problem with what I was doing was it didn't, like, the glass didn't flow. I also used, I have really small colored balls that I used in this as well, but they didn't. Again, it was one of those things weren't flowing with this, and I think it's because of the type of mold it is, and the glass just is too heavy. So I ended up putting a little bit too much. I got heavy-handed in here, and this is not smooth. Like, it's got some, not ripples, sort of, I'm trying to think. It's not flat. Let's just say that. It's got some like waves in it sort of idea. I can feel them with my hands. So that one didn't turn out as cool as I would have liked it to. Like, it's okay. It is okay, but it wasn't what I expected to be. So what I decided to do is I made another one. And this time, all I did was I used a glitter and the tiniest amount of Alumilite resin dye in it, just because I didn't want you to see clear through this. I wanted it to be colored. So that's what happened here, and I'm just noticing an air bubble, but that's fine. I had a lot of fun making this one, and I think this turned out really cool. Very festive in the coloring and the way that the light catches the glitter. And I have to admit, I was a little concerned. So we're going to be using this glitter today in our pieces, as I get glitter everywhere now. So if you can see on the top of that lid, you know, these pieces aren't all that small, and I was a little concerned that in making this that I was going to have like spots where the glitter did not go, but it handled itself well, and I've got it all over the place, and I don't know of any spots that, you know, glaringly didn't have the glitter in them. So that was pretty cool. So I'm really happy with that. So we're going to put these off to the side. So we're going to make another one of these plates now that I've got glitter all over it. And we're going to make this piece, which I'm hoping that it may sit inside the plate. Now, I did place this on the one plate, right? And it doesn't quite sit, but also I've got to take into consideration I've got the mold, right? So maybe once we've got it made, it'll sit in there better. And if not, it still sits in there nicely. And then you could, like, we'll have a pair as such. Now, I am going to do this piece a little bit differently than I am this. So for this, all we're going to do is we're going to have 3 types of glitter. I'm trying to think how to do this. Okay, so we've got these three glitters. So we've got the 2 gold and then these colored red and green that we're going to put into the resin. We're also going to put in some lemon yellow dye because I want to sort of have this looking like a star when we're done. And I thought the yellow would be a good color. So for the plate, we are just using the dye and the glitters in it. For the star, if you want to call it that, I am going to be adding these jewels. The little, I call them little diamond pieces. Anyways, these clear pieces, we're going to be putting these into the resin as well because I really want to get the effect of, again, the glitter and picking up from lighting and whatnot. These, I was surprised, actually fit in nicely. So I had taken my container and these came from, now I don't know where these came from. I don't think these, oh no, these are a Dollarama thing, package. Okay, Dollarama is where these came from. Again, I think I got these at a garage sale, so I don't know how long ago the person had actually purchased them. We're going to be using these in because I thought just something a little to catch the light. How well is it going to do that? Well, that's, I don't know. But I wanted to put them in. So I took what I had, poured them in. They fit in rather nicely, which I was really happy about. And we're going to use those in here. And I think I was trying to debate whether or not I do them, like make up all the resin at once. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to do them separately so that we don't have any flash curing happening. I think what I'll do is I will start with our plate and get that done. And then we will make up the resin and we will do this piece next. So the only difference between the two are going to be these pieces in this piece here. Okay. So I don't have my resin ready or anything to start mixing together. So I am going to get that all put together. We'll come back, we'll pour, I'll get the next batch put together, and then we'll work on this piece. So just give me a few minutes and I'll be right back. All right, now let's have some fun with some glitter and some color. So we'll start with our color first. Let me put those off to the side, not needed right now. I don't know how much of this yellow I actually want to put in. So we'll just put a couple of drops in for starters. Let's do 3. And we'll see how it looks. Again, all I want to do is have some color in it so that we don't have clear showing through it. Now, this is Let's Resin, and I may need more. This may not be enough. It's lemon yellow, so it's very pale. To be honest with you, I wanted gold, and I don't have, like I have some of the Ranger inks that are gold, but again, too, I wanted it to be translucent, not opaque. And I don't have an Illuminate in yellow. I've got the orange, the red, what is supposed to be a green, which isn't a green, more of a blue, and then I have a blue. Anyway, we may have to put more, so not looking all that. So let's get some more of that in there. And the reason I'm doing yellow, so part of it is because I don't want to see, the clear of the resin, like clear resin, but also because of that, it's a snowflake. Yes, I appreciate that, but I'm thinking of it more of a star. So that's why I wanted some of the yellow in here as well. So this is turning better now. So let's just put a little bit more in here. So what, we're probably up to between 12 and 15 drops now. And then what the next step we'll do is we'll mix some of the other colors in and see how they change it so that we're not making it too much. Just enough color, like just a tinge of color, if you will. So if you can see that. Here, does that help you out a little bit? I can write with my left hand. Not well, but I can write with my left hand. So Maybe I should start doing some more stuff with my left hand. All right, so let's leave that. We may put a little bit more of that in. We'll see. Let's pour some of this red and green in. And I'm going to be a little heavy-handed with this. Gets everywhere, doesn't it? And you're going to have to bear with me as I stir this up. I guess maybe what I should do is let's just throw everything in and then we'll see how we end up. I think I'm going to need more of the green and red. I don't think I've put near enough in that. And this last gold I'm putting in, I just love the color of this stuff. Gotta love how glitter just goes wherever it wants, eh? Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. I can feel this resin warming up. I'm really glad I didn't, you know, make both of the resins at the same time. Just easier to do it this way. Also glad I'm using this cup, because then I don't have to think about cleaning it out. Okay, we definitely want to get more of the red and green in there. I don't know about anybody else, but I want more in. Just because I want to give this a Christmas vibe. And the gold definitely will, for sure, for sure. I just feel like we want to put more of the green and red in. Yeah, see, that's looking better. That looks more festive, I think. Right, let me get my blue out of there. There we go. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, bless me. All right, so that looks pretty good, eh? Maybe put a little bit more of the gold in, but I think we're starting to see it's looking pretty good there. We got our green and our red in showing up anyway. I think from, maybe I'll do a little bit of this. Like I said, I really like the other one. And it's nice when you're just wanting to get so much glitz and whatnot that it doesn't really matter how much you put in. But yeah, definitely help putting some more of that red and green in. Yeah. I think we've, and lifting it up, I think we're good on that. So let's just put that aside. Get all my things moved about so that we can not run into anything when we're pouring this. All right, made around 100 mils. I've found that seems to be a nice number. And the thing I like about this piece, I know with some pieces when you do this that, you know, you really have to watch for the air bubbles around the side. And this is a mold that if you do it and pour it correct, well, I shouldn't say pour it correctly. It just seems to work. It seems to work well with letting things flow where they need to. And I'm just getting some of the glitz and glitter off my spatula here before we carry on. All right. It's a whole ordeal, isn't it? All right, let's do this. Okay, so this may be a little lighter as far as, you know, whatnot goes, the glitter and whatnot. So I think what we might do is, I don't know whether it's, yeah, it may not have enough glitter in this, right? I was hoping to have a little bit more. I guess I didn't pile this on enough. So as if I were really just at the beginning of this pour, I'd probably dump a whole bunch more into it, but I don't think I want to do that at this point because I want it even. So we'll do the same on the other one, and hopefully it'll still look nice. It'll still look nice, but I kind of wish now I had put a little bit more glitter in this. And there's something else we're going to do when we get closer, because I want to make sure. So let me just get so I did this the last time. I took this tool here, all right, and then I ran it around the edges under here just to make sure that we were getting resin everywhere. And it seems to be just to make sure that we've got the coverage. All right, that's the only reason I'm doing this, is just to make sure that I'm not getting any air bubbles, and it makes me feel better, which may sound really odd, but you know, every once in a while I do things like this because it just seems to, I think, help at the end of the day. But you do you. If this isn't something you want to do, then that's, hey, that's totally cool. And we're going to do the snowflake star is going to be done in 2 sections. And I'll explain that to you once we get to doing that. I just want to... And then once we get this all poured, we'll put I've got a couple of small molds over here to the side that will put that in, or I can make more earrings if I wanted to. Here, let's get that and put it in. Go in. There we go. A little bit more in here. Yeah, I had measured this plate out, and it was around 90 some odd, and I was finding that it wasn't turning out to be enough resin for this piece. So I'm just trying to do my best to look down from the sides just to see how much room I've got left. And I think I've still got a little bit of room in here, so let's get this, a little bit more of this in here. Okay, the rest of that I'm just going to put into one of my pieces off to the side here. There's a little spot over here I just wanted to, but I think we're going to be good. So that's where we're at. We've got the plate done. Again, wish I'd put a little bit more glitter in it, but that's okay. I blitzed it up as much as I had sort of wanted to, but that's okay. It'll still look pretty. And it's not clear, right? Like you can see, it almost looks like it's a little dirty with the coloring, with the yellow, but I'm okay with that too. Seeing if I've got... All right, let me clean this up. Let me get the other bit of resin made up that I need to, and then we will come back and carry on with the next section of this video. All right, we've come back. We get to move forward now. I'm going to take my little glitter pieces here, and I'm going to put them into a plastic cup so that we can put some resin in there and mix it up. Well, mix it up, add it in. I'm going to put about 10 drops of the yellow into this. This is about 80 mils. Okay. I figure if we did about 12 to 15 in the other, then 10 is a good place to start for this. Because again, I still want sort of to have the yellow tinge to things, but we may not need as much. And the other thing is too, if for whatever reason the star/snowflake doesn't sit on this plate well enough, then we can always separate it and have them in two different locations. So it really wouldn't matter that they don't match up exactly. And we're going to put the glitter in this as well. Now, my plan for the snowflake/star is to only sort of fill it up to the bottom of, let me just, so, because I'll do it better. I only really want to go to this height here because I don't want my crystals floating up and over, because some of these are, like, depending on how they lay, may be up and above, and I don't want the base to not be flat. I decided it would be easier just to put them around the sides. If they don't float, which they may not, then it'd be easy enough to make up some extra resin and just pour it and carry on and then let it all set up. I'm wondering though if what I might need to do is let this set up for, you know, a couple hours and then do the rest of it. And if that's the case, I'm just going to do that off camera, because basically all I'm going to be doing is the same thing. I'm just going to mix up my resin and I'm just going to pour it. So, and hopefully I can continue to get the similar amounts of sparkle and whatnot. So that's what our resin looks like. It may be a little bit more yellow, so I'm not going to put any more yellow in that. We'll put in our glitter because I do want glitter in this. I'm not trying to make one look different from the other. I want to do my best to make them look similar. See if I can't get it. Okay, that might be enough. All right, because and if it's, again, you know what? They don't have to be identical. If that's what you're aiming for, great. I don't need them to be identical, only want them identical from the perspective of what I'm putting in each of them. So that's where my identical comes in. This stuff, this glitter here, I really, really like. It caught my attention, and I'm trying to think if I got this from, if this was a Creatology. No, I don't think it was. I think I did get this from Amazon or someplace like that, because it was very, very cool. It's one of those, yeah. If it's shiny and glittery, I like it. I definitely feel like I've got enough in here of the coloring. And then we'll pour some of it. I was going to pour a little bit in the bottom, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I almost wonder if I should have a smaller container to mix some of the, I just want to make sure I use a container I do not care about. But maybe we'll just have fun. Maybe we'll just use the container I've already got. And then we'll just have to dish out my my rhinestones or my crystals, or call them what you will. All right. Yeah, so I think it's going to be similar to the other one. I don't have a lot in there, but I have enough that you're going to be able to see it. Okay, so we'll pour some of this in there and just sort of see where we land. Just want to pour a little bit in and get it. And then if I guess too, if I end up having too many of these crystals, then we'll find a use for them somewhere. But I did want to make sure, it's like the glass. I just want to make sure they get coated so everything sort of works well together. So let's just end that there. Wipe out. Okay. Like that. Let's cover that up. All right, and then we will just sort of carefully mix this up. If you've ever made a souffle, think of it like that. When you get mixing some of it, you have to do it really carefully, otherwise your souffle will fall. My mom used to make the best cheese souffle. I'm a huge fan of cheese. I have cheese every day. Whether it's good for me or not, it's irrelevant to me. I just like my cheese. And Mom made really good souffles, cheese souffles. And if I like to cook more, it gets too easy. When my husband's not home, I'm a sandwich girl, or a frozen dinner. And I know anyone who's out there who eats healthy, your fruits, your vegetables and whatnot, you probably wouldn't want to be with me. I do know the value of all of that. For me, it's just convenience and ease. And when it's just me, it does get it's become too easy for me just to eat what's quickly available to me, which I know isn't a good thing some days. But anyway, think of it like a cheese souffle. We want to mix this really carefully so as to, yes, coat them all, but not to have too many bubbles and whatnot. And being that these are plastic, which is helpful, probably makes it easier and better. All right. Let's get those two off of there and just let them go back down. So I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a little bit of that and we're going to just pour it in the middle. So we'll take that guy over there. I know my camera's not exactly where I want it to be, so bear with me as I just sort of pivot a little bit. And that'll be a little bit better. So I apologize for the shaking there. So let's just get some of this in here. Just a little bit. Don't need a lot, I don't think. And it doesn't matter to me if I get some of this, on the sides and whatnot, because it's all going to be like that at the end of the day anyway. But I just figure if I maybe have a base on here, that'll be good. Okay, up there. Now, I want to try and do this so you can see, but it might be a bit of a challenge for me. Actually, you know what? I think I'll use this. See if I can, no. I'll just keep my left hand out of the way. All right, so let's just get these going down in here. And the other thing that'll be good about these is with the fact that they have some resin on them, they should go in relatively smoothly. And then we'll do some, and then we'll put some more of the resin in. And we'll just keep going back and forth until we've got this. Now, like I say, if these will sit tight, then I won't have to wait to do the rest of the resin. And maybe what I'll do too is I'll spritz this with some alcohol so that we end up with, you know, yes, I'm expecting air bubbles. I'm not really seeing how I would avoid that. Let go, let go, let go. Okay. Let's put a little bit more. Actually, I said I was going to spray it, didn't I? Always got to be careful. I found out in the one video I did, be very careful that you don't put too much alcohol on things, because if anyone remembers my incident with my pear, I put way too much alcohol in the stem, and that just went south so far that it was just not helpful. Yeah, so hopefully, and I think what I'm going to do too is I'm going to take one of my sticks and try and move these around a little bit so they're not, so we get a little bit of evenness to them, right? I'll use this one so we can just sort of move them about a little bit. Hopefully, yeah, I'm on camera, that's good. So I don't know if I mentioned in one of my last videos, I have a couple of cameras that I haven't used for a very long time, and I had to get new batteries for them, which I've done. Well, for the one, I only got batteries for the one, and it's kind of cool because I'm someone who is in a Facebook group here where I live. They were going out in the fall and taking the most beautiful pictures, and I used to do what I called back road trolling. When I first moved to where I live now, you know, I wanted to get to know the neighborhood. I wanted to check out, and I'm fascinated with abandoned buildings. And I was going around and I was getting pictures, more of the abandoned buildings than anything. And I like took thousands upon thousands of pictures, and I sort of came across my cameras and I thought, oh, you know how unfortunate it is. You've got these beautiful cameras and you're not doing anything with them, which is sad. And I thought, okay, people were telling me I could get new batteries for these that would work with my camera. So I used AI because, you know, why not? And it gave me, you know, a description of some of the batteries I could, you know, that would work with my one camera. So I got my batteries, and now my camera is sitting proudly in the room waiting for me to start using it. And I go for really abstract looking things. I love scenery, yes, but I also love, just as I say, abandoned buildings, rusted items. Like I've got an old wagon wheel that I've taken pictures of, and just the unusual is what I love to take pictures of. So if you do photography, I'd love to know, you know, what you take pictures of. Are you into people, like weddings and that type of thing? Or are you like me and like the abstract, the unusual? I've done some weddings, and it sounds really odd. I'm not into taking pictures of people unless I can get them as where you're not posing them, I guess. Candid pictures. I love candid pictures because you get people in their element, and it's so much better than when you start posing people. So that, from a people perspective, I didn't mind doing it when it was just, you know, they're standing around talking, or they're, you know, looking at something and they don't know that you're taking their picture. That's when I think you get the best pictures of people. I know some people love, you know, posing for pictures and whatnot, and that's brilliant. Like, if that's what you're into, yeah, I just, you know, walking around and just snapping a picture of someone and they don't know you're doing it, and then they get the picture and they think it's so cool because it captures them in their essence. And my niece is a professional photographer and does amazing jobs because she's like me. She likes the unusual when it comes to taking pictures. And yeah, she's very good. She went to school for it. I just picked up a camera and started going. But, so, yeah, photography is really neat. Okay. So, something else I'll start getting back into again. And for anyone who's a photographer, and if you live in a place where, you get winters, I've been out and gotten some phenomenal pictures after a snowstorm. Like, it's so neat. Like nature at its finest. It would have been cool had the big ice storm we had this year, if I'd had a camera then, because I would have gotten some phenomenal photos of, it was just wild here. Like, I was without power for 36 hours, and there were other people that were up to 2 weeks, and that's not phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. I don't, it's unfortunate when people are without power for that long, but what Mother Nature created, it was just, yeah, it blew my mind. Anyway, that's my jaunt about photography. So if you happen to be into it, I'd love to hear, what it is you focus on when you take pictures. Or if you know someone, what do they focus on? What's their specialty? All right, so I think I'm just going to put a little bit more of the crystals in. I have, well, probably more than I needed, but I knew that the resin also would, fill up some of the space for sure, right? And so we're just going to get a few more in. I don't think I really have to worry about them moving around too much. So I'm going to take whatever resin I've got left. I'm not sure. I know where I'm going to put them. I know exactly where I'll put these crystals, but almost like to put them in my earring mold, but they'd probably be way too much for that. We'll move these around a little bit more. And I need to get the rest of the crystals out of there. Just sort of slide them wherever. I've got a lot of stuff like this crystal. I've got sand, glass. I really need to start using it up. I mean, I know it doesn't go bad. I just figure I've got it. Why not use it? All right. So I'm trying to, what I might do. So I've got one of these molds here, one of my big round tea lights. Let's take this. We'll just get, I want to just get the crystals out of here. We'll just get those in here. Those should work okay in there. And they can go wherever. I also have these plastic in what look like rocks. And I was going to put them in, but I figured I'll just go with these guys. And it's a matter of finding the right mold that you can put this stuff into where it's not going to, I guess where it's going to slide down the sides, right? That's the thing about them, right? That's the thing about them. If you can hear my phone vibrating over there, I've got a phone call coming in. All right, so let's get these. I don't think I've got any more in there. Do I? No. All right, appears I've got them. I'll throw a bit of alcohol in this just to help out. There. 2 sprigs of that. Let's get this going around. Get rid of that air bubble. Actually, you know what? We're just going to push these. I know how to get sidetracked, eh? If you ever want to learn how to get sidetracked, you just ask me. I'm got every tool in the book to do that. Someone's leaving me a message now. Good thing it's not on sound, right? Because I know that bothers people. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put just a tiny little bit of this resin. I know, way to get sidetracked. Just in the bottom of this because I've got some holes and I don't want them as such. So we're just going to put this on here. And hopefully it doesn't pull off to the side. Just kind of coats the bottom. Okay, enough of that. Off to the side you go. Let's finish this up. So we'll get as much of this in here as possible. And then, as I say, I will, off camera, just mix up whatever else I may need for this. So, I don't know. I don't think we're going to have enough resin with what I've done. So, I'll just have to mix up a little bit of extra. Like these are the moments, right? If you work with resin or anything else, it's like get out as much as you can because you want to make sure that if you don't have to make up more, you don't have to make up more. Yeah, that's always the fun part. There have been moments when I've had to make up so much extra stuff because of how I'm doing it, and then you get to the end and go, oh, I wish I'd just made up the right amount in the first place. There's that one. All right. Let's just get this like this. That there. And let's just see where we land. I'm feeling pretty confident I'm going to have to make some more. And all I'm really hoping for is that it sort of gets down into all the crevices, right? Like that's the big thing with doing something like this is, you know, am I going to be getting my resin everywhere it needs to go and not have, you know, so any kind of gaps. That would be brilliant. And I think because we're not right at the top, I've got an idea that will help with that. So let's get this out and then I'll show you what I mean. Oops. And when I filled this particular piece up with water, it took about 140 mil, and we made about 80, and I knew that the crystals were going to take up space. So there was no way I was making 140 because I thought then I'll have way too much. Maybe if I'd made 100 it would have been good. All right, just give me a second while I wipe this off. Okay. And I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm not going to have to worry about any of those pieces, you know, floating up too much. And if if I really wanted to make sure of that, I would let this set up for a couple of hours just to make sure that it doesn't do that. And that might be, you know, still might be a smart idea, because I've got a couple over here that are sort of poking up. So you know what, I might just let this sit for a couple hours. So what did I mean by, you know, sort of having it, I just want to wipe this down and I'll show you. Okay, so if we take this, and then I think I've done this before in my videos, if we just sort of pull out a little bit, I like to think that the resin is then sort of making its way down into, you know, the different areas of the mold so that we don't end up with. Now, the other thing I could do is I could take that one piece I've got. Now we've got 6, so we've got 6 of these sort of, you know, edges and whatnot. And I've got an air bubble there. I want to get rid of it. Going over this with that for sure. I might just leave this for a couple hours just to avoid. I think I'd be okay, but I really don't want them popping up. So I think I am going to leave this. All right. So if we just went down very carefully to the bottom on all of these, which would take a ton of time. And see, the other thing I don't know is if by doing that, if I might introduce air bubbles. So I'm going to trust, you know what, all on its own. Get those off. And leave it. I'll leave it for a couple hours. Again, I'm just off camera going to mix up what's left because you don't need to see me just pour. And what then we'll do is we'll come back once these pieces are ready to take out. I think this one's going to be more dense with the coloring and the glitter than my plate is. But again, if that doesn't work for you, then you just keep them separate. And it also depends too on whether or not this is going to sit the way I want it to. Now, the other way we can do is have a look at the bottom and just see if I have any glaring. It's always okay, use that as my guideline. Any glaring, what look like air pockets. And see, it's hard to tell because I've got a spot here, but I think it's maybe just because one of the crystals is down there. Yeah, I think we're good. I do think we're good. All right, so we'll cover that one up. I'll finish it up. I'll bring you back when it's time to take these out of their mold. All right, we are ready to take our 2 pieces out of the mold. I'm curious. I have a very interesting question for you guys out there. I am bad for scrolling on social media and reading what's going on in the world, and I catch myself and then realize I seriously need to stop. So I'm just curious if there's anyone else out there who's doing the same thing I am. As I say, I know I have better and more important things to do with my life, but I do get caught up in the social media world, and then all of a sudden it's like a light going off in my head that says, okay, seriously, stop and get back to work. So here we are, back to work. As I said, I finished doing this piece off camera and filling it up. Now, what I noticed, which was kind of interesting, was that my glitter sank down more on this section of it than it had on the other pieces, which I found kind of interesting. I didn't do anything differently. I noticed that it's sunk. So it almost looks like we've got the glitter and then we've got a bit of a clear layer. Now, some of the glitter has stayed up near the top. I can feel it. But it was interesting how it sunk down. So I just thought I'd mention that to you as a piece of information. So let's see what we've got going on here and if it will fit in our plate. I still think it's going to be nice because it's all glitz and glitter. And I'm hoping the next piece I do for you is an interesting piece, but I've got one little thing I've got to figure out before I get into it. Okay, so there is our very glitter Christmas piece. Now, I don't know okay, so I'm not seeing, which is kind of unfortunate, I'm not seeing the crystals I put in there. I can see them, but they're not an in my face kind of thing. So I'm just going to hold it up to my light here. And yeah, that doesn't really help a whole heck of a lot either. And perhaps what I needed to do is not put all the glitter in and around it. So that may not have helped any. I'm trying to see on the inside here if I can see them, and I can't. They've blended in really well. They have blended in like crazy. I can sort of make them out, but not like I had hoped. So maybe what we needed to do instead of using clear, because technically, I mean, okay, let's get them out. I mean, technically they're clear, so they do sort of fit in with, you know, the resin being clear and whatnot. So perhaps I should have used a different color. I think I have, trying to look over into where my stash is. Maybe not in this room, but in my other room, I have colored ones. So gonna have to find a better use for these, but it saved me some resin, so I don't have a huge problem with that. I feel like I've got one sitting right there because it's so clear. But it looks cute, regardless of the fact you can't see the crystals. Okay, we'll just let that part go. But it looks nice. I think this looks really cool. Bottom's definitely glitter. And that. So yeah, I think, you know, the sides could, you know, do with a little bit more fun in them. But hey, that's okay. That's fine. So let's get this out. Now this may still bend a little bit. I know that the other two that I've been taking out, they have bent a little bit when I've taken them out, but I'm going to show you a trick of what I've done just to make sure that we get them back to the shape they need to be when we take it out, or after it's out, I should say. All right, so this is going to warp a little bit, and that is easily taken care of. Okay, so it has warped a little bit, but not to be concerned about that, because what we're going to do, so it's a little warped. I don't know how well you'll see that, but it's not, it's a little warped. So all I'm going to do, and I'll be able to show you that better this way. Okay, so it's got some in it. All I did was I just took one of these and then I just pushed it down. You know, not a lot of pressure, but enough. And then I spin it around a little bit and then push it down sort of other angles. So just so it flattens itself out again. All right. So now we don't have that tilty. We've got it back and flattened down the way it's supposed to be. So that's just a tip to when it comes to the resin pieces that you might do that have a shape like this. And then, I mean, I didn't on my other ones, but you could also sort of just push it down in the center here to make sure it's flat, so it's not, that's got a bit of a thingy to it, but not bad. But for me, it was more important that the outside of this be flat and laying down. I don't know if there's another way of doing it, but at least now it can set up completely and properly. Okay, so there we have that. So let's see if it'll fit. Yeah, it's a little too, this is still a little too big for this piece. I mean, you certainly put now I always tell people to put in a battery operated tea light. I don't even know if once this is fully cured, which people have said 30 days to fully cure a piece. I just don't, I'm going to tell you, do not put a wax candle in these. Put in a battery operated tea light in the center of these if you're going to do anything. I think that's the safest thing to do. It will sit in there, but it's not sitting in properly. It's a little too big for the piece, which is fine. And then I'm just going to bring back my Christmas tree because I still got it sitting here. So I know definitely the Christmas tree is too big for this particular size plate. You would definitely need to get something else. However, as we sort of discussed in my video where I made this, you know, you could put it upright and use it somehow if you wanted to. Or, as I also mentioned, we can, you know, have our tea light over here and then, you know, the plate sitting there by itself, or have it in totally different sections. Yeah, whatever floats your boat. That's, you know, as I've said over and over again, you do you, and I got that from Tim Holtz because I thought it is so true. We don't need to get caught up in what everyone else is doing or what I'm doing. Take the ideas and float them however you want to do that. But there we have it. We have a really nice tea light holder. We have a very cool Christmas type plate. Now, this wouldn't have to be for Christmas, but the red and green kind of lend themselves very well to Christmas. The other thing I'm going to recommend is, because this is made out of resin and there are chemicals in this, I know some people use, you know, plates like this to put food on. I think if you're going to do that, I have a couple of recommendations for you. One is put a napkin down first and then put your food on, especially if it's not in a wrapper, or just put wrapped items on the plate. And this is just a personal thing. I know people do the charcuterie boards and whatnot. I just think because of the chemicals that are in the resin itself, I think it's a good idea to either have wrapped, like candies you could put on this, wrapped candies. So think of your, I used to buy butterscotch, and I can't think of the company that makes them, but little wrapped up butterscotch candies that you could put on here. Anything that's wrapped up, or again, as I say, put a napkin down. Something that's going to separate your non-wrapped food from sitting right on the resin. Call me quirky. It's just, there's just certain things I won't do, but again, that's totally up to you. But this is our project. At the end of the day, I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm going to have to go find my battery operated tea lights. And then, so total, I now have 3 of these cute little plates. And these would make interesting Christmas gifts for people, or you do them in the color of, for somebody for their birthday. And you could even go so far as to put their name and a date in here if you wanted to, and then just seal it up with a very thin layer of either 2-part epoxy or UV resin. And I would definitely say, if you're going to put UV resin on this, and I don't know why it makes a difference to me, but I would definitely say if you're going to put UV resin as a coating, I would definitely not put the like any uncovered food on it. But again, that's me. So we've got this one. We've got this. I love this one. I think this came out really cool. And I do like this. I just wish I had put a little bit more glitter into it. And then this. So I think this came out really cool. And I do like, again, I wonder if I hadn't put the yellow in, if we'd be able to see those crystals in there. But it's still, I like it. It works for me. And I'll give you one last idea for these. When I was growing up, my sister did pottery, and she made plates for everyone, and she knows how to draw. So she drew scenery onto everybody's plate and then put their names on it. So that's an option too, to do that for people, depending on if you have this plate, if this is something you wanted to do, was to make different, like all different, like my sister did, and then put people's names on them. And if you get together for the holidays with a family, then you could give them out with their name on it. And my sister, so interestingly, when she made the plates, a little bit of back history, she had given them to my mom. So my mom pulled them out at Christmas time because they were specific for Christmas. And then after my mom went into a retirement home, my sister took them back and then started using them at her place. So they still exist. and it's kind of cool. So anyway, that's our video. I hope you've enjoyed it and you've gotten some use out of it, and maybe, you know, going out and making your own plates for yourself, or like I said, I think they might make cool gifts with just something interesting wrapped up inside it. And I want to say, not tissue paper, clear cello wrapping paper. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you at that before I forget how to say words again. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you've been very creative. And again, for those who celebrated the American Thanksgiving last week, I hope you had an awesome time. Take care. Bye for now.